Welcome back to another episode of the South by East podcast where we discuss the scriptures, music, and everything in between. Braille, what do we have today?
Man, today we have, this is a cool little short that you sent me, man, of this lady talking about Starbucks and how they fired one of their new CEOs just a few months into the job because he was not getting the job done. And I feel like they learned a really good lesson about proving this, but I think it's something that we can learn too because I think a lot of times we can fall into that same bet. So let's check this out.
Starbucks just fired their CEO after 17 months. You know how much that company was worth when he started? $114 billion. When he left, $74 billion. That's a $40 billion faceplant in under 2 years. So who was this guy? 22 years at McKinsey, consultant, told everyone how to run a business, never actually built one. I think this is actually what's broken in corporate America. We're hiring resumes over results. But then Starbucks woke up and they brought in Brian, who took Chipotle from $7 billion to $70 billion. Before that, turned Taco Bell into a profit machine. I love Taco Bell. The day Starbucks announced him, the stock jumped $20 billion in a day. They handed him a $113 million contract. And shareholders were like, nah, I'm cool with that. Why? Because he made them $19.9 billion back overnight. Here's the truth. Operators build, consultants advise. Hire people who've never built anything. Don't be shocked when they burn it down. In a world that cares more about resumes than receipts, be the one who brings the receipts.
Ooh. They said they stock jumped up overnight just by announcing that they hired him on staff.
Bro, there's two things I tell the team all the time. Mm-hmm. One, I always tell y'all guys, potential will get you fired.
Yeah, yes, you do.
And then the second one, I tell you that you sell them on the vision, but you buy them with the results. Mm-hmm. And man, I see this so often. I see this in places a lot of times where, for instance, I believe before you start being a grant maker, you should have to actually be a part of a nonprofit and lead a nonprofit and building a nonprofit to see what that looks like and having to raise funds and having to do all the dynamics it takes. Because it's easy to stand outside and consult. And that's you got so many keyboard warriors that can tell everyone. A couple of days ago, like earlier in the first week in October, I released this like long post on my personal page just around the complexities of doing affordable housing. And for I've gotten a lot of comments about how this eye-opening. And a lot of people think they know exactly what needs to happen. And it's like, well, okay. And I get comments all the time. I get people to come at me. And I say, all right, show me some of your housing projects. Show me where you've gone out and raised the funds and then you've completed the housing projects.
Right.
And you've navigated through construction and you've navigated through financing and starting up in an under-resourced neighborhood and gotten it from the dirt. Show it.
Yep.
Show it to me. And then show me how you scaled that. Mm-hmm. And then we can talk and compare. And it's not that you don't have anything to offer, but I want you to know that it always feels easier. Right? Mm-hmm. I was laughing because I was telling someone I always know what Patrick Mahomes should have done when I'm watching it from the comfort of my living room.
Right.
And I can always tell you what read he should have made or what Chris Jones, how he could have tried harder against the Jaguars on that game-winning touchdown. And I can always tell you all those things, right? But it's a lot different when you're on the field, right? I can always tell you how Travis Hunter should have been hydrated. But he played, 60 snaps, right? So when you start thinking about those things, I just see it way too often where people can critique with no experience and then gather this mass following.
Yeah, bro.
Gather this mass following, bro, of like with no provenness.
Bro, I'll tell you why, man. When I used to go out when I was younger, I'd go to youth groups like, bowling or different things like that with a church. I would be like, hey, no matter what sport you put me in, there's one area I'm always gonna win because I got the top skill in this area, and it's transferable across every single sport. Trash talk. When we get out here, I cannot bowl. I am fire on the lanes with laying it down, and I was like, you gonna feel like I won, but the score. My max is 35. Like, my max is 35, and it's a different set of skills to bolster. I had a guy that I was mentoring once, and he was looking at an artist. Artist had posted some stuff on Facebook. This huge show that he had did. He was opening up for Chris Calico, and my guy was like hot. He's like, man, why is this happening? And I was like, okay, have you ever seen that dude make any money? He's like, nah, man, I know he broke. Okay, have you ever seen anybody really bumping his music? I know. I'm like, so then what are we upset for? Like a few years later, I ended up, that same artist had posted something and asked for feedback. And I gave the artist some feedback. I was like, yeah, man, hey, I like this. Here's what I would do differently. Because he asked for it. Got on, blah, blah, blah. You ain't never, you don't do this. And he was like, where can you prove? And so I went and I grabbed my largest YouTube video, which was a video that at the time had about 94,000 views on it. And I just posted it, and I was like, yeah, man, this is what I've done. And he stopped. He's, hey, big bro, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that you did it. Because having the receipts and being the loudest don't always correspond to each other. And some people are just good at being the loudest. They're good at talking first. They're good at making themselves seem good. They're good at doing things that look good on a resume but have no actual results. And people want to buy into that story. And the story is important. But the story's only half the battle.
I'm going to tell you something. I used to think, you know who... this goes a couple of different ways, across genres, as I could say. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you can think the most talented and smartest person in the church is the associate pastor till he actually has the lead. Till he actually is the one under the fire and the one where the buck stops. He or she has to take all the heat, has to deal with the budgets, has to deal with the shortfalls, has to deal with everybody upset. And then, man, like, but what over the years I've known, like, I've noticed and come to know that there's a person in the church that's even smarter than the associate pastor.
Who's that?
It's the person who won't even serve on the serve team. But they have every critique of everything that the church should do in every area, and you can't get them to lead anything. And they then when they do lead something, they have a complaint about everybody on their team, and then they can't figure out how to work and get anybody to do anything for them. And
maybe they are smart. They figured out how to have a perfect record.
And it's like, and I'm like, hey, fam, remember some of the comments like that you had, like some of the rough different things, and like I'm just telling you, being in this world, leading both a non-religious nonprofit and leading both a church, and now multiple churches, leading ministries, different things of that nature, and just seeing it where I've seen it so often where somebody who had really, really strong, uninformed critique didn't go through the same thing themselves. Some of the best will come back and say, you know what, man, look, I was so wrong in that. But most will stay silent. And won't come back and acknowledge, you know what, when you was in this position, I had really strong critique and I didn't understand all the complexities and dynamics of it. And I had a really strong, swift word about how you should just nip this all in the bud and do this and do that, and this was the quick fix. And one of the things that I love, this is the third thing I tell the team all the time, is part of maturing in leadership is knowing what's a problem to solve and what's a tension to manage.
Yeah.
And until you have been in the fire, you don't know the difference. You will treat every problem like a nail, and you'll be the hammer.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Yeah, man, I saw this meme earlier, and it said, "Don't be a Triceratops." And it had like a little Triceratops, it was like, look all sad. And then it had like a Triceratops all buff. It said, "Be a DoCeratops." I was like, man, that's a lot. I'm gonna save that. And but like that's, man, people who get taken in by that are often people who are Triceratops. They don't actually go out and do anything, and so they don't recognize the difference between someone who's posturing and someone who's getting results. But when you are a DoCeratops, when you're someone who's used to doing, when you're someone who's used to working through the process and working through the fire and working through adversity and working around and pivoting and making different decisions and getting feedback and coming back and putting things together, you ask different questions and you start going like, I mean, yeah, that looks good, but where are these receipts? I've seen, where are these receipts? And often when I see people who are taken in by that, they're people who also aren't actually doing things.
Saul and Absalom were the perfect leaders for Israel until they actually had to lead.
Right.
Man, look, if you A Tale of Three Kings, if you've never read that book, it's a really quick read, really great. And man, look, Saul looked like the perfect guy. He mirrors what we played in the clip. And then Absalom looked like the perfect replacement because he could critique
everything that was going on.
Not only the guy who looked good, but also the flawed guy who was effective that followed him. But he was even worse, man. And so one of those things is, here's my final word. Don't give up on your flawed leader. Support him or her, work with them, encourage their growth. If you're religious, pray for them. But don't give up on them. Because you just might find that they're not that terrible. And it's kind of like the syndrome with kids with their parents, where you get old enough to realize that maybe your parents wasn't so dumb after all.
Oh, man.
Where you get to the point of realizing, like this ad I saw, or this story I saw where Red Bull got people to drink Red Bull by dropping empty Red Bull cans in places they knew that college students would go. Sometimes you can find out that you've been sold on empty cans that were never really drank from. And support your leaders. Be encouraging to them. October is Pastoral Appreciation Month, but man, they need it every month of the year. Leading people is hard.
Yes.
Your nonprofit leaders, wherever you're at, your mom, your dad, your husbands, your wives, whatever sector you're in, leading is hard. And so just encourage them and continue to support them.
Yeah, man. So who are the leaders in your life that you want to support too, that you want to lean out and give a shout out? Man, put that down in the comments. We want to hear about it. Continue to comment, like, subscribe, follow us on your favorite podcast episodes, and we'll see you next week
In the intersection.